My name is Lynda Young. I'd like to welcome you. I am one of the school liaison team here at TU Dublin. So this morning we are going to be chatting to Frank Costello. Frank Costello is the admissions officer at City Campus, but he is also the CAO Correspondent for TU Dublin. We're going to be speaking to Brian Gormley. Brian is the head of campus life in City Campus, but he is also managing orientation for TU Dublin in September coming. And then we have Rachel O'Connor here. Rachel is our student experience officer here at TU Dublin. So I'd like to welcome you. We're going to kick off by starting with Frank. I know that many of you are interested in the CAO process and what's happening this year, particularly as the final date has just passed for the schools to submit results to the CAO. So we'll start off with Frank then. And Frank, I'd like to really start with the question on what advice can you give to students currently finalising their CAO form?
Well, the first thing to note, and I'm sure you're aware of it, is that the closing date for the change of mind in the CAO is 5:15 on the 1st of July, which is next Wednesday, this day week. So you have a week to make your decisions. I know many have made decisions already back in February. You might have had put in choices then. You've been studying, then COVID came along and a lot of challenges around that. And now you're back here knowing that your predicted Leaving Cert results are going to come out sometime in August, and you want to make decisions on where you want to go. You might want to change your mind a little bit, or you might want to emphasize where you're at. The point is for you is to look at what you've got. Look at what your interest is. Don't doubt yourself in what you can do. The interesting statistic that I'm aware of is that the vast majority of students who put down their choices will get at least one of the top 4 choices. And it's very important then, if you really want to do a particular subject, put it down as your number 1, and you follow then 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down to number 10 at level 8. And then also exactly the same thing at level 6, 7. You have time this year because you didn't have a leaving certificate to do, to reflect on this. And with confidence, and you don't have the hangover of a leaving certificate for you to change your mind in a rush. You have time to do so. I'd spend the time to consider very carefully what you're doing, because I will talk later on it, but literally that's what you should do now, and be confident in yourself, because this is your chance to go to college this year and go and do that.
And Frank, we're taking in as many students as we always take in that year or this year. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We're open for business.
Yeah.
We will be doing a little bit differently because of COVID, but we're open for business. We're hoping to be able to have you come in September, start college then, and we're open for business. The same numbers of students will be accepted onto our programs as heretofore, and we have 167 programs there for you to look at across all the various disciplines, and include us there because we are ready for you.
Okay, great. Frank, can you kind of give us an indication on the timelines just around the CAO? Okay. I know that's the question with a lot of students now at the moment. And maybe if you talk to us about, for the different cohorts, because I know there are different rounds there.
Yeah. In the past, the 1st of July was always the final cutoff for the CAO applicants, which is the vast majority of people who come into college every year. There are 3 different offer sessions that goes on, and because of the COVID, we've had to do a little changing. But I can assure you, all mature students and the students who deferred last year, that is one particular cohort of students, they are offered in round A, as we call it. And round A usually in the past used to happen around the 4th of July, but this year it's happening on the 18th of July. So therefore, if you're in that cohort, you will get your offer on the 18th of July. Okay? And we are presently assessing and finalizing all of those applicants to make sure they're up and rated and ready to go. And we'll be doing that over the next 10 days or so. But you will be offered those your place, all going well, on the 18th of July. The next cohort is, in fact, we call them the FE cohort from our perspective, further education, students with qualification for QQI and some late matures possibly. And that cohort, the offering will happen on the 8th of August. Many of the FE students would have got their results already. They'll be sent to the CAO. They'll be assessed and done, but because of the COVID, it's delayed a little bit. 8th of August.
Okay.
And then we have the next. That's called round 0. The next round is round 1, the famous round 1, which usually happens around the 13th, 14th, or 15th of August. We don't have a specific date for that.
Okay.
But the important thing is that we are expecting that date to be in around the 20th of August, all going well. No guarantee, but everything will happen. So that's for leaving certificate students.
Okay, leaving certificate students. And Frank, if it's the 20th of August that they get a request to, or they get their results or whatever, what date can they expect their offer then from us here at TU Dublin?
As happened last year, literally, if you get your results on the Wednesday, you will get an offer on the Thursday.
Okay.
That's the best way I can put it, because literally it's the day after you get your results.
Okay.
In round 1, you'll be offered the next day.
And we're fully equipped to do that, Frank. Yeah.
As ever, the system kicks into place then, where you will be made an offer the day after your results, and you have a week to respond to accept your program, and then Brian's team will kick in to be inviting you to come to college at that stage. But literally, it's exactly the same process as other years, and we'll be expediting that in the usual fashion.
I see a question coming in here, Frank, about deferrals. So when are results coming out for deferred students is the question here.
The offers will happen for deferred students. If you applied last year and you deferred before you came onto the program, and you've reapplied this year for that specific program, that offer happens on the 18th of July.
The 18th.
Which is round A. This is the CAO will make that offer for you on the 18th of July.
Okay. And just another question there that we have, Frank, just relates to the maths competency test. I know a lot of students are very interested in that, and that's something that we normally offer so that students can matriculate for our engineering program, our general entry engineering program. Will that go ahead this year, Frank?
That is going ahead, yes. And what will happen is that you will be given the opportunity after you receive your results. Again, after round 1, you'll be given the opportunity to register and come on and do that test. It might be a little bit different this year, but the test will happen as usual. It happens about 5 or 6 days after the first offer goes out, and that would be invariably, if the offers went out on the Thursday, you'll be doing an assessment on the Wednesday the following week, so we can give you an offer in round 2. The important thing is that it's for engineering, and it's for level 8 engineering generally, because many of the students mightn't just get the H4 that's required, but the same principles apply from our perspective. Predicted results and in the past results in the normal fashion, we treat them exactly the same.
Yes, okay, that's absolutely fantastic, Frank. So we just have we've one more question in there, and then I'll move along to Brian. So we have a student coming in here saying that they missed the deadline for mature students because of their, they were away in America. They applied via QQI. How many spaces are generally kept for students on QQI programs, and when are they offered?
Well, that's an interesting question. Just ensure if they've made an application, to the CAO, and that application is there, that's good news, because therefore they still have time to make any changes. We are assessing mature students in TU Dublin up to the last moment. We don't have any time restraints on that. So if you decide to put in a program now as a mature student and change your mind on that before the 1st of July, we will be assessing you on that basis.
Okay.
That's the first point. The second point, just to finish on that, is that QQI, we offer QQI places on almost every one of our programs in TU Dublin. And frankly, the best way I could put it is that we might have some restricted places, But on the vast majority of programs, we offer to those who have the qualifications for those programs, we offer them, and they should not be concerned about that.
Okay, just one question, one final question come in there. Just a student who's applied for the CAO, they'd completed first year of a program but are switching this year. So when will they get their offer?
Okay, so if you've made an application already, and that's fine, that will happen. You will be offered in the normal course in round one. You will be considered a non-standard student probably, okay. And it's very important that remember that's round one, which is along with other leaving certificate students. Can I just add one thing as well? I think it's very important, Lynda, is that some students who have gone through the first year in college, mightn't even be in TU Dublin, it could be in other colleges or universities, and they want to change, and they haven't completed their first year, but still registered as students as of the 1st of May. They have a special entitlement to make an exceptional late application to the CAO, and that is open on the 1st, after the 1st of July, open for that student. So therefore, in the past it had to be done by post, but now we've changed the rules because of COVID. That will be done online, and that will be issued shortly on the CAO within the next few days. So those students who are considering changing their program from while they're in first year in a particular course at the moment to another course in CAO, that's opening on the 1st of July.
Great, Frank. What we're going to do is we move along to you, Brian, now. We may still get some questions in, and we'll try to handle them maybe towards the end. But just to come in with this one, Brian, and this is for students who are accepted into TU Dublin and who are starting. There's obviously a lot of concern around the COVID, COVID-19, but with physical distancing guidelines in place, what can students expect for orientation in September? And how can they get the most of it, Brian?
Okay. Well, I suppose just to give some context, for people who may not know, so orientation is the introduction to the campus, where the new students are allowed to become familiar with the campus and meet the students in their class and meet the academic staff and get all the administrative issues kind of resolved and so on. So we're working, I mean, all the news on COVID-19 and the case numbers and so on has been very positive, and the restrictions are being lifted quicker really than we hoped, and hopefully that'll keep going as we go towards September. But all our focus at the moment is to ensure that orientation is the best experience possible for all our new students. So we're very much focused on getting new students the opportunity to get on campus during orientation, to have a tour of campus, and then to meet in small groups to meet their fellow students and staff. So that's the major focus, and that so people can feel comfortable when lectures start, that they know the campus and they know people in their class and the academics. And then the remainder, all the administrative like registration and ID pickup, we're moving all that online. And then as other items like the welcome from the president, introduction to student support services and students union, consent classes and so on, they'll all be moved online in a very kind of engaging format, which allows students a chance to interact with each other within their program. So again, they can kind of get to know each other before classes start. So the best advice is, I mean, from the time that the offers go out, we will be using the email address that you registered for the CAO with to email out information around the registrations and the student support services and the academic program and the social life, the student experience on campus. So the best advice I can give is to watch your email, read the information that comes out. It'll be very important for you in order to settle into campus very quickly. Watch the website for the website updates and engage with the material. Like if there's online programs around student support services, do engage with it. And it, overall, I think it's going to be a very positive experience for everyone. It's really looking much more positive than it did. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great, thanks very much for that, Brian. And we are actually running another tutorial tomorrow just about the whole online experience and what students can expect. So we'd invite a lot of students to come on to that as well. But just moving on to the next one, Brian, another question that is coming up quite a lot is based around accommodation. You know, obviously students are expecting that they won't be in college every day. You know, it may be just some days over the week. Could you maybe give them a piece of advice on, you know, what student accommodation they can look for and what sort of bookings maybe they should make for the coming year and how we can help?
Yeah, well, I suppose the good news in that area is that we expect prices to come down this year. I mean, the supply situation for student accommodation has improved tremendously over the last couple of years. So there's 1,000 new rooms last year built. There's 2,000 new rooms opening again this year. We expect fewer international students this year, so the demand for some of the student accommodation will be reduced. And also, there's quite a number of new rental properties have come on the market as the Airbnb kind of market has dropped off. So overall, supply is good. So we would say to people to shop around. In TU Dublin, we have kind of licensed rooms, or we've kind of booked rooms for TU Dublin students, and TU Dublin students get a discount. So if you go on the accommodation website for TU Dublin, you'll see those the kind of reduced rates for TU Dublin students. So, and we also have got a lot of homestay that we thought that might, you know, not be as, there wouldn't be as much supply in that area this year, but actually there is quite a lot of supply. So we would say shop around. Quite some of our suppliers are also offering where you can book for maybe 3 days a week rather than book for, you know, 40 weeks of an academic year, and that would reduce costs to students. When I think you should have an idea after you're offered your place of how many days per week you're on campus, and that will allow you to kind of look around for accommodation and see what's there. But there is accommodation there, so don't feel under pressure to book.
Yes. And Brian, just to give the web address for our site, it's TU Dublin Student Pad. I think students can find that quite easily if they just go to Google and Google TU Dublin Student Pad. So they'll get all of that information on there. Is that correct?
That's correct. Or if you go to the tudublin.ie website and just search for accommodation, you'll get it'll come up very quickly.
It'll appear too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Brian, just in terms of commuting to college then, do you have any advice for students who will be commuting to college?
Yeah, and again, we expect probably if you know, as students won't have you know, a full week on campus, we expect that quite a few students will decide to commute rather than moving up into student accommodation. There probably is going to be a situation where, because of restrictions on public transport, it might be more difficult to get on the public transport. So we would say to do the research now. There's a lot of private bus companies, you know, from Drogheda, Dundalk and Navan and all the kind of commuter counties that have really strong bus routes that serve TU Dublin. So we'd say to do the research now and see what kind of deals they're doing for tickets and weekly tickets. That's if you're commuting a long distance. If you're in Dublin, we would again strongly encourage people to look at walking and cycling. And I see the National Transport Authority were kind of getting that message across today because of capacity issues on public transport. So it's, you know, we have, you know, secure cycling facilities in all the TU Dublin campuses. With showers on all campuses if you're cycling a distance, and we're talking to some suppliers at the moment to see if we can get special deals for students who want to buy bikes. But also, you know, the Dublin bike racks are outside in city centre, they're outside every campus, so that's an opportunity as well. And just a quick point, if you are a traditional age student doing the Leaving Cert, just to be aware that you don't have to get a student leap card immediately. Your child leap card is much cheaper, and that'll serve you until you turn 19. So it's a good way to save money.
Yeah, so for students using the Lewis or the bus or whatever, that will be much cheaper for them. Okay, Brian, that's great. Rachel, I might come to you now. I think a lot of students may be worried about money, or students will be worried about money coming up to September. And do you have any advice about how they might make a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing, Lynda, is that they do make a plan.
Okay.
I think when it comes to money and a budget is the best way to go, and to have a look at what costs they're going to have. You know, Brian has given some really useful information about there. We would find, and we produce a cost of living guide, and if we make that available to students, it's up on the website now, and they can Google that as well. But the cost of living guide would kind of break down the I suppose the likely cost that you would have coming to college, but the really big cost would be accommodation. So as Brian said, you know, there's a really good opportunity to shop around and only get the accommodation that you need, or possibly look at commuting and to shop around in terms of the transport piece. The other big costs, obviously we would encourage people, you know, to keep on track of their SUSI application and all that sort of stuff as well. I mean, that is a huge part of the cost, and thankfully about 40% of our students will be covered by the SUSI grant, and therefore, you know, that student capitation fee will be covered for them. So to keep on track on those, and also to be, as Brian said, doing your research now. On the university websites, if you're coming here to TU Dublin, we've lots of information on scholarships.
Okay.
And we've lots of information on student financial aid. So as soon as you become a registered student, you can access student financial aid for a wide range of sources. So it's really worthwhile over the next few weeks doing a little bit of research in and around those areas, having a look at that cost of living guide, and really kind of knuckling down and seeing, well, what are my costs likely to be on books, on equipment, on mobile phones and broadband. And there really is some good value out there, and we produce the guide to give people kind of reassurances and to give them, I suppose, an estimate of what costs might be, you know. But also to remember, once you become a member of TU Dublin, you have access to so many, you know, free services. We have, you know, free student health, free counselling, you know, you'll be able to access the sports and societies. And as Brian said, with the way the pandemic is going, you know, there'll be a lot more you know, there'll be a lot more activity, hopefully, than we might have anticipated, you know, a month or two ago. So it's really worthwhile having a look through the websites now to see what's going to be available to you. And to remember, once you're registered here with TU Dublin, you do have access to the financial aid system, and you also will have access to an awful lot of free support services. So as Brian said, it's really important in those initial few weeks to attend the orientations online, to find out all of that information. So that, you know, 5 or 6 weeks in, you're not kind of looking around wondering where to go, that you have all that information ahead of you. So that's something the students can really be doing now, and we'd encourage them to do. And again, a little bit like the student pad, if they Google TU Dublin cost of living guide, they'll get that information.
They'll get that information. Fantastic. Rachel, what can students do over the summer to get themselves ready for e-learning? I think that's going to be a big change, and I know you might have some advice on that.
Yeah. Absolutely, Lynda. I think e-learning, but just learning in general, I think, you know, there was, you know, the majority of our students will be coming kind of post the Leaving Cert crisis. Were they doing it? Weren't they doing it? And, you know, they'll have had a big break. You know, you'll have had a big break in between, you know, studying and coming to college. And, you know, maybe schedules will be slightly out of sync. You know, you might be getting up later, staying a little. So I think it's about establishing a routine for yourself in August. And because it is going to be a blended experience, about finding a space in your home that you can use, that you can study, getting yourself some sort of a table and chair kind of set up. And I suppose having a fixed space, because I think you get into a mindset of work and study if you have a specific space in your home allocated to that. And then at the end of the day, you can put your stuff away. I think that's really important. And I know Claire and Geraldine will probably be talking a little bit about that tomorrow.
And I think that's something we can all learn at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that kind of time management, I think it's, you know, as Frank, Brian, and I would include that, you know, people probably have quite a bit of time on their hands. So to maybe, you know, do things, you know, maybe spend an hour a day researching the college, you know, having a think about the courses over the next week, and thinking about what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be studying, and get yourself into some sort of routine. There's a lot of, you know, free online courses that you could have a look just to get a handle on blended learning before you come in. There's also lots of stuff available on YouTube and TED Talks and all the rest, just to get a feel of what it's going to be like. And as I said, I know Claire and Geraldine will go in. And from the technical aspect, I think, you know, practical things that you can be doing is, you know, if you don't already have a laptop, maybe thinking about, you know, and again, that comes down to the finances of about budgeting for one of those.
Yes.
And we're very aware that people, you know, we've done a survey and we know that part-time work for students and the ability to earn a bit of cash over the summer is going to be greatly reduced by the pandemic. But to really think about, you know, what you might need in terms of broadband, in terms of maybe a printer, and what sort of laptop. Now, if you're going into any of the specialist design courses, you know, the computer sciences, the architectures, hold fire and kind of wait until you get some specifics from the programs themselves, because, you know, sometimes you can need quite specific types of equipment. But, you know, if you're going into a normal course, to think about that. If you don't have one, to think about how that might, you know, as a family, how you might manage that. And things like downloading free tools like Google Chrome, you know, so that when it does come to orientation and all that sort of stuff, that you have your browsers ready and, you know, you have your system ready. And as Brian said, you're registered. I think it's really important to register, get that email address so that you're in connection with TU Dublin, and then you can get all that information. So I think they're very practical things that students can be doing now. And certainly we'll be doing, you know, more stuff on Instagram in and around August. We'll be sending out e-zines kind of August, September time. So you'll be becoming part of that community very quickly.
Yes, and I know that is, you know, a big thing that we do. We do communicate a lot with our students once they've been offered their places. I do have one or two questions coming in here just in terms of fees and tuition fees. I mean, we don't see the fees being reduced, Frank. Would I be right in saying that for this year? I mean, it is the same experience, really. It's just, you know, slightly different this year.
I maybe I could just emphasize, really, I think the students, people come to college, it is the same as any other year. The offer system is exactly the same. Whether the points go up or down is the same risk every year. Same number of students every year apply for CAO for programs on the CAO, and therefore all the colleges are out there waiting, and as are we, waiting for you to come to us, and we're going to offer to all the same number of students to get the same number of students in. So there won't be any great rise or fall on points, in my view. But if there is, that's going to happen, unfortunately. But I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be more or less the same for everybody. The Leaving Certificate student or the QQI student or whoever it is will be offered through the CAO in the normal fashion.
Yes.
Nothing's going to change.
Nothing's going to change. And just to let people know out there, yes, you know, there's a question in there about fees and installments. You can make your fee payments in installments, and that will be outlined in your registration pack. You know, when you've been offered your place and you accept, all of that detail with regard to that will be outlined at that stage. So just so that you know that going forward. So guys, I think that we've covered quite a lot there. I know there are some other questions coming in on Facebook Live, and we will get back to them. So if you've put your questions in, we will answer your question in the comment section on Facebook Live. Unfortunately, we only have 30 minutes for this event, and we're about to commence our next event now in about 5 minutes time with our Access team. So for anybody who's interested in the access routes and also in our bursary, our 1916 bursary, you can come on and chat to us at that stage. Guys, for anybody who is interested in the online learning piece, we will be doing a big section on that tomorrow. We've dedicated a whole 30 minutes and two of our lecturers will talk to you about the experience, what you can expect. We have one lecturer who's been teaching her program for the last 10 years online, and she's going to talk to us about, you know, how she engages her students and how they feel about that. But, you know, there will be the opportunity for students in TU Dublin to come on and, you know, work with us online, but they will also have the opportunity to come in to class as well, in, you know, in a kind of a blended fashion. Isn't that what we call it, Brian? A blended fashion, you know, and that's for semester one. But again, depending on what happens, that might open up a little bit more going forward. But we definitely will have our students in at some stage over the year. Just let me see, do we have any more questions? I do have one question there that maybe you could answer for us, Rachel. What is the financial aid system and what does it offer?
Okay, so the financial aid system is I suppose it's a system to make sure that if a student is really struggling financially, that we're able to give them assistance. So there's a wide range of assistance from rent right the way through emergency assistance and childcare assistance. So once you become a registered student subject to means test, you can apply for those. So again, if students are interested now, they can Google TU Dublin financial aid, and it's in the same section as the accommodation. and they can have a look through there on the website about all the different types of financial aid that they may or may not be entitled to, depending on their own financial situation. And also if they Google TU Dublin scholarships, they'll be able to get a link to all the different scholarships. And people can, you know, like TU Dublin gave out over 500,000 euros in scholarships, everything from sports to, you know, legacy scholarships. So it's really worthwhile having a look through and seeing if you're entitled to any of those scholarship pages as well, you know. So
that sounds fantastic. Now, I actually have one or two questions just in terms of the start dates, Frank. So I have, when will I be starting my degree? Will it be in September 2020? And will I get a confirmation email from TU Dublin? So I know, Brian, you were talking a little bit about orientation starting a particular week and then our hopes for students to start thereafter. Maybe I'll give that one to Brian. Actually, you might be able to give us a better indication there.
Yeah, so the teaching starts on September 21st. So we're you know, there'll be elements of the orientation like the campus tours and so on happening the week before, and a lot of that the e-zines and information will be coming in via email in the weeks before. It's a confirmation email that you get from the that you get from the university. I suppose that depends on what round you are. If you're a mature student or an FE, as Frank was outlining, that'll be, I think, in kind of mid-July. If you're on the round one of this, if you're applying via the Leaving Cert and you're in the round one of the CAO, when you get your Leaving Cert results, you'll be getting the email from us the following day with an offer. So if you've done well enough in your Leaving Cert, good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
Can I just say something on that as well? CAO make all the offers.
Yes.
And all the offers go to CAO, and you, the student, will be offered a level 8 and or a level 7, whether you're a mature student, an FE student, or a Leaving Certificate student. You make a decision on what you want to accept. Once you accept, we're told by the CAO that you've accepted, and then that's when Brian's letter will go out to you immediately afterwards. That's the way it works, like it happened every other year. So it's as simple as that, folks.
Okay. We have to wrap up there. Unfortunately, great to talk to you guys today, and thank you very much for giving that advice. As I say, for anybody who's put questions in there on Facebook Live, we are live for a couple of sessions this afternoon, but we will get back to all of those comments a little bit later today. So thank you very much, guys, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.